Welcome to Mayhem CEDH, where questionable decks meet questionable pilots.
For this week, we're starting the new year off right by running a pod with no blue. I'm sure it'll be fine.
With that being said, let's check out the pod today. First, we have Evan on Raggadragga Mana, a combo deck full of mana dorks and untap effects that combo with its commander.
Noah on Minsc Pod, a stacks deck that seeks to utilize key stacks pieces to slow the board down and win with a Protean Hulk combo.
Jack on Acererak Red Sun, a combo deck that seeks to cheapen Acererak, accrue value through dungeons, and win by assembling a line to make Acererak free.
And finally, Pilch on Dargo Sidar BYO Grizzlebrand, a combo deck that seeks to sacrifice Academy Rector to Dargo and win with a Greater Good combo into Underworld Breach.
And now, with each pilot in their respective corner of the screen, let us begin. And for those of you in the Ames area, stick around to find out how you can get 10% off your next Mayhem Ames purchase.
Noah draws and plays Iganjo, Seed of the Empire. He plays an Esper Sentinel and passes. Jack draws, plays a Swamp, a Jeweled Lotus not paying for Noah's Sentinel, and a Vampiric Tutor, fetching up a card to the top of his library and losing 2 life. Jack passes. Pilch draws, puts a Temple Garden into play untapped, paying 2 life, a Mox Diamond, not paying for Noah's Sentinel, discarding a land as it enters, an Arbor Elf, a Lotus Petal, and passes. Evan draws, plays a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, a Mana Crypt, not paying for Noah's Sentinel, a Soul Ring, and a Heron Blade Elite. Evan passes. Noah draws and plays a Bloodstained Mire, cracking it, paying a life, and fetching up a Tygon to the battlefield. He plays a Drannith Magistrate. The table groans, and Noah passes. Jack draws, plays a Vernic Catacombs, and Initiates of the Ebon hand, and at the end of turn, Pilch casts Eladamri's Call, not paying for Noah's Sentinel, fetching up an Academy Rector to hand, and the turn moves to Pilch. Pilch draws, plays a Soul Ring, not paying for Noah's Sentinel, an Academy Rector, and passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Evan wins his Mana Crypt trigger. He draws, plays a Cradle Clear Cutter, and at the end of turn, Jack cracks his Vernic Catacombs, paying a life and fetching up a Swamp onto the battlefield. The turn moves to Noah. Noah draws, plays a Gaia's Cradle, and Recruiter of the Guard, fetching up and casting a Birds of Paradise, and passes. Jack draws, moves to combat, and attacks Noah with hand. Noah blocks with Drannith, and in his second main phase, Jack plays Heartless Summoning, not paying for Noah's Sentinel, and passes. Pilch draws, and passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Evan wins his Mana Crypt trigger. He draws and plays the Great Henge, not paying for Noah's Sentinel, a Fyndhorn Elves, entering with a +1/+1 counter and drawing through Henge, and a Birds of Paradise, entering with a +1/+1 counter and drawing through Henge. He follows it up with Crop Rotation, sacrificing Yavimaya, fetching up a Gaia's Cradle onto the battlefield, a Rhythm of the Wild, and...
Shaman of Forgotten Ways?
I'm sorry, what does that thing do?
He's gonna Biorhythm! I'm gonna Biorhythm. Mana available right now.
Wait, what?
Because he has haste.
Unfortunately, with not enough mana available, Evan passes. Noah draws, plays a Savannah, and casts his commander, Minsc, Beloved Ranger, creating a boo token when it enters. He follows it up with a Chord of Calling, where X equals 7. Seeing a win attempt, Pilch casts a Braid, paying for Noah's Sentinel, destroying Minsc. Noah fetches up a Dockside Extortionist on the battlefield, creating 9 treasures when it enters. He plays a Felidar Guardian, flickering Recruiter of the Guard when it enters, fetching up and casting a Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. With this, Noah presents a loop of creating copies of Felidar Guardian with haste, flickering Kiki Jiki to create infinite copies. The table sees the writing on the wall, and Noah wins the game. Evan has a pre-game action and puts Leyline of Abundance into play. Pilch draws, plays a Savannah, a Wild Cantor, and passes. Evan draws, plays a Command Tower, a Fyndhorn Elves, and passes. Noah draws and plays Windswept Teeth, cracking it, paying a life, and fetching up a Tygon to the battlefield. He plays a Chromox, imprinting Gerard Weatherlight Hero, a Sylvan Library, and passes. Jack draws, plays a Swamp, and an Imperial Seal, fetching up a card to the top of his library, loses 2 life, and passes. Pilch draws, plays an Ancient Tomb, a Survival of the Fittest, a Mana Vault, and passes. Evan draws, plays a Mana Vault, and a Dockside Extortionist, creating 4 treasures. He follows it up with a Bloom Tender and casts his commander, Raggadragga, Gorgut's Boss, and casts Vitalize, untapping all his creatures, an Incubation Druid, and passes. Noah draws 3 cards and keeps 2 through Sylvan Library, losing 4 life. He plays a Mana Confluence and casts his commander, Minsc, Beloved Ranger, creating boo when it enters, and passes. Jack draws, plays a Swamp, a Cabal Ritual adding 3 black, and a Semblance Anvil, imprinting Ornithopter of Paradise when it enters. He plays a Sensei's Divining Top and passes. Pilch draws, plays a Plateau, and plays Recruiter of the Guard, fetching him and casting Academy Rector. He sacrifices Wild Cantor for mana and sacrifices Academy Rector to help cast his commander, Dargo the Shipwrecker, and fetches up a Greater Good onto the battlefield through Academy Rector. Oh boy, here we go. Pilch sacrifices Dargo to Greater Good, drawing 7 and discarding 3, and plays a Chrome Mox, imprinting a Braid when it enters. He casts Rite of Flame, adding 2 red, and recasts his commander, Dargo the Shipwrecker, and immediately sacrifices it to Greater Good, drawing 7, discarding 3, and immediately recasts and sacrifices Dargo, drawing 7, discarding 3. He exiles Simian Spirit Guide to help recast his commander, Dargo the Shipwrecker, and immediately sacrifices it to Greater Good, drawing 7 and discarding 3. He plays a Lion's Eye Diamond and cracks it, discarding his hand and adding 3 red mana. He uses 1 of it to recast his commander, Dargo the Shipwrecker, and sacrifices it to Greater Good, drawing 7 and discarding 3. He plays a Mox Opal, recasts Dargo and sacrifices it, drawing 7 and discarding 3, and immediately recasts Dargo and sacrifices it, drawing 7 and discarding 3. Breaking from the norm, Pilch recasts his commander, Dargo the Shipwrecker, and sacrifices it to Greater Good, drawing 7 and discarding 3, and plays a Mox Diamond, discarding a land as it enters. He recasts Dargo and sacrifices it, drawing 7, discarding 3, plays a Jeweled Lotus, cracking it for 3 red, recasts Dargo and sacrifices it, drawing 7 and discarding 3. He plays a Mana Crypt, recasts Dargo and sacrifices it, drawing 7 and discarding 3. He plays a Lotus Petal and finally plays a Relic of Legends. He recasts his commander, Dargo the Shipwrecker, sacrifices it to Greater Good, and with the draw trigger on the stack, pays 2 life to cast Noxious Revival, putting Underworld Breach back on top of his library. Then, Pilch draws 7, discards 3, casts Underworld Breach, escapes Lion's Eye Diamond from his graveyard, cracks it for 3 red, discards his hand, and then...
We'll cast a Goblin Bombardment.
Okay.
I'll cast Dargo until you repeat the Altered Bombardment. Okay?
Yeah.
With Relic of Legends allowing him to cast Dargo infinitely, the table sees the writing on the wall, and Pilch wins the game. Noah draws and plays Misty Rainforest, cracking it, paying a life, and fetching up a Savannah onto the battlefield. He plays a Fyndhorn Elves and passes. Jack draws, plays a Swamp, a Mana Crypt, an Ornithopter of Paradise, Sensei's Divining Top, and passes. Pilch draws and plays a Scalding Tarn, cracking it, paying a life, fetching up a Taiga onto the battlefield, plays an Orcish Lumberjack, and passes. Evan draws, plays a Grove of the Burn Willows, a Jeweled Lotus, and casts his commander, Raggadragga Gorgut's Boss. Evan passes. Noah draws, plays a Taiga, and an Archon of Emeria. Jack cries, and Noah passes. Jack draws and plays Braids, a Risen Nightmare, and at his end step, sacrifices Sensei's Divining Top, drawing 3 cards with each opponent losing 2 life since none have artifacts to sacrifice. Jack passes. Pilch draws, plays a Mana Vault, and passes. Evan draws, plays a Boseiju who shelters all, a Fyndhorn Elves, and also passes. Noah draws, plays a Sylvan Library, and moves to combat, attacking Jack with Archon. Jack takes the hit, and Noah passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Jack wins his Mana Crypt trigger. He draws, plays a Jeweled Lotus, a Polluted Delta, and at the end step, sacrifices Jeweled Lotus to Braids. Pilch chooses not to sacrifice his Mana Vault, Evan and Noah have no artifacts, and Jack draws 3 with each of his opponents losing 2 life. Jack passes. Pilch draws, plays a Horizon Canopy, and passes. Evan draws, plays a Dryad Arbor, and moves to combat, attacking Noah with everything, untapping Fyndhorn Elves through Raggadragga. Noah takes the hit, and in his second main phase, Evan plays a Paradise Druid and passes. Noah draws and casts his commander, Minsc, Beloved Ranger, creating Boo when it enters, and passing. At the beginning of his upkeep, Jack loses his Mana Crypt trigger. He draws and cracks his Polluted Delta, paying life and fetching up a Swamp onto the battlefield. He plays a Prismatic Vista and casts Praetor's Grasp, targeting Noah, fetching up a card from Noah's library and exiling it face down. He moves to combat and attacks Noah with Braids. Noah takes the hit, and at the end of turn, Jack sacrifices Prismatic Vista to Braids, with no one choosing to sacrifice, and Jack drawing 3 with each of his opponents losing 2 life. Still at end step, Evan casts Crop Rotation, sacrificing Boseiju, fetching up a Gaia's Cradle onto the battlefield. The turn moves to Pilch. Pilch draws, plays a Felwar Stone, and passes. Evan draws, plays a Tinderwall, and moves to combat, attacking Jack with Paradise Druid, Pilch with Raggadragga, and Noah with Fyndhorn Elves, untapping Paradise and Fyndhorn through Raggadragga. Noah chumps with Boo, the rest take the hit, and Evan passes. Noah draws 3 cards and keeps 3 through Sylvan Library, losing 8 life. He plays a Horizon Canopy and casts Recruiter of the Guard, fetching up an Arena Rector into his hand. Noah passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Jack loses his Mana Crypt trigger. He draws, plays a Swamp, and pays 4 life to help cast Toxic Deluge. In response, Evan flashes in a Great Oak Guardian, untapping his creatures and giving them +2/+2. Deluge resolves, and Jack follows it up with Lightning Bolt, targeting Raggadragga. In response, Evan casts Chord of Calling, where X equals 5, fetching up a Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker to the battlefield. He activates Kiki, making a copy of Great Oak Guardian, untapping all creatures and giving them +2/+2. With this, Evan creates infinite Great Oak Guardians, making his creatures infinitely big. Seeing the end, Jack plays a Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, an Imperial Seal, fetching up a card to the top of his library and losing 2 life, and passing. Pilch draws and dashes in Raggavan, Nibble Pilfer, and moves to combat, attacking Noah with Raggavan. Noah takes the hit, and Pilch creates a treasure token and exiles the top card of Noah's library through Raggavan, which isn't a removal spell. Defeated, Pilch passes. Evan draws.
I make infinite mana. I commune with lava for.
Just go to combat.
Oh yeah. I make infinite creatures. Duh.
So annoyed at you. Just go to
I was
combat.
gonna fireball with buyback. I forgot
Yeah,
that.
just go to combat.
The table sees the writing on the wall, and Evan wins the game.
For those of you in the Ames area who stuck around, come to Mayhem Comics and Ames this week and ask for the YouTube discount. You'll be asked the question, who won Game 2? Answer correctly and get 10% off your purchase. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to catch future videos, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.